there, welcome back to my channel. This video was supposed to go live a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately it's been a little hectic around here, so I suppose better late than never. Anyway, this card was created in honor of Puppy Mill Awareness Day, which was like way back in September. Like I said, it's been a little hectic around here. In any event, it's meant to represent a thank you to all those people that choose to adopt over shop. So onto my card now. The focal images of this card are the Rescue Dogs by Heffy Doodle, as well as a star swirl stencil for the background. So first I started with a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock and I ink blended Mermaid Lagoon across the entire panel. Then I've got another piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock and I'm ink blending Mustard Seed across the entire panel as well. To that yellow background panel, I'm going to add the star stencil, and I'm just lining it up onto that panel. I'll use a little bit of tape to secure it in place. And then I'm going to bring in some Nuvo Glimmer paste in Garnet Red to add to the top of the panel. I'm using a palette knife to mix the paste in the container first, and then I'm taking a thin layer of the paste and I'm spreading it across my stencil. I'll make sure I get a nice even coat across the entire panel, and then I'll remove the stencil and wash the palette knife and the stencil immediately with some water and soap. So while that paste dries on that panel, I'm going to start working on the focal point images. I've added these stamps into my MISTI, and then I can stamp those images out onto a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now I don't have the coordinating dies for these stamps, so I'll be using my Scan and Cut to cut those out after I color them. I did leave the coloring in for these images since they are so small, if you're interested in watching. I do my best to remember to leave the caps on the screen, but I don't always succeed. So I will have a list of the Copic color combinations that I used listed over on my blog, which I will link to down below. For my Copic coloring, I like to color with a lot of contrast, and so typically I will use 4 to 5 different markers even for these tiny images. So while I color, I will just place the music in the background and then I'll see you when I'm done.
Thank you.
images all done, and I've used my scan and cut to cut those images out. Now I can start working on my backgrounds. I'm taking the blue inked background and I'm going to die cut that panel using one of the largest Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies. The star stencil background is dry now, so I can die cut that panel using one of the smaller stitched rectangle dies by Lawn Fawn. Once I have those die cut, I can go ahead and remove the panels from the die and start adhering them together. I'm taking the yellow top panel and I'm adding some fun foam to the back of that so that I can pop that up for just a little bit of dimension. I've just kind of marked with the pencil where I need to trim it, and I'm using my scissors to cut that foam down. Before I start adhering anything together, I'm going to create my sentiment, and I'm using the sentiment from this stamp set that says, "Thanks for coming to my rescue." I have a piece of black cardstock that I've treated with anti-static powder, and then I'm using Versamark ink to stamp that sentiment down. I'll add some white embossing powder on top of that, and then I can heat set that into place with my heat tool. Next, I can start creating my card by taking the largest die cut panel and adhering it to the top of the card base using some liquid adhesive. This is the blue inked background, and I didn't blend it all the way in since there will be another panel on top of that. And then I will take the star panel and that's popped up on fun foam and add some liquid adhesive and place that into the center of the bottom. I have my sentiment that I've die cut using a sentiment strip. I've got that popped up on some foam tape, and I'm going to adhere that across the bottom. Make sure I get it as straight as I possibly can. And then I will take my two focal point images and add those onto that card. And that will complete my card for today. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you next time.